I like Z beer. My name is Will, and I'm at risk. 2009 was a rough year for me. My girlfriend had just broken up with me. I felt like I had nothing to live for. I was working at the theater for a little while. A couple months in, 2 promotions later, I'm supervisor of the ushers. I basically had to make sure they cleaned the theaters, made their breaks, make sure the lobby didn't have any popcorn on the floor. It was a great job. Me and the staff became like a family. My manager, Angel, was a great guy. After every shift, we would go out on these binge drinking adventures. And one night, I put on these glasses where I popped the lenses out of the 3D frames, and I say to myself, like, I'm gonna have a blast tonight. We're at a bar, and there's this girl I know from high school. She's pretty. I've always had a crush on her. We're into each other, and she's like getting a drink at a bar, and Angel, he looks at me, he says, "Hey Will, you want to try some coke?" Now usually, I would say no, right? I've always been really anti-drug. My aunt died from using, and it really stuck with me for a long time. It took me years and years and years of like watching my friends smoke weed for me to take a pull, and so I was kind of hesitant at first, but fuck it, I was drunk, I didn't give a fuck anymore. Yeah, I would like to try some cocaine, why not? But how? I didn't know, like, do I like make a line on the bathroom sink? Do I don't have a straw, do I have to break it up? I don't know how to do it. So they tell me, hey, just dip your key inside and put it to your nose, and so I'm in the bathroom, my hands are shaking, like I'm worried about, there's people waiting to use the bathroom, knocking on the door, I'm fumbling around with the bag, I can't get it open. I'm nervous as fuck, and I'm worried about somebody's gonna just barge in, the bouncer and kick me out for having cocaine in my nose. So I finally get the key in, finally bring it to the nose. I don't feel anything. Take a bigger bump. Like my mind starts to race, like, holy shit, is this cocaine? So I'm sitting down with my friends, are gonna get another drink, and they ask me how I'm feeling. My legs are shaking, my hands are trembling. I feel kind of anxious. And so I'm talking to the girl, and I'm just on point. Like the words are just spilling, just like poetry is like spewing out of my mouth, just like to this woman, and the sexual tension between us is increasing, and I'm really enjoying this. So I'm like, doing a little bit more coke, and drinking some more, and flirting with this girl, and rubbing her in her thighs, and I walk her home and end up having sex with her on her bathroom sink. Now, I don't know what it is. Was it the glasses, or was it the coke? A combination of both. But after that night, that's when I started my reign as the Super High Supervisor. Sean was selling ecstasy in the house, and we'd have like hundreds of pills at a time, and it was like, hey, you want to try one? Yeah, I'll try one. Why not? I've already tried coke. Ecstasy is definitely not as bad as cocaine. So, I pop one. Nothing really happens. I have to get, I apparently have a high tolerance for drugs. So I pop another one. Nothing really happens. Within like 2 weeks, I'm like crushing them, sniffing them, right? Waking up in the morning, go to work. Trying to clean out blue boogers from my nose. I'm talking about I had Transformers. I had purple stars, red stars, yellow stars. Red hearts, triple stacks, double stacks, single stacks, you name it. I did it. So I'd be at work, sometimes it'd be like 2 hours before my shift, and just pop one and just feel nice. Pop a couple, just feel nice. During the end of my shift, like running around the theaters, like, sweating, like I'm wondering why I'm sweating again, like, talking to people just like on the stairwell, just nonstop, just like, and it got to the point where, I was doing cocaine in the staff room. I was in the bathroom, pouring some coke on the urinal, and just taking a dollar bill while I'm taking a piss, right? Then get right back to my shift, like, you go on break, you go on door, you go on the post, and my managers just look at me like, yo, like, what is wrong with this man? You know, I was doing my job, but I was like I was a little out there. You know, they didn't really quite comprehend what I was getting into. So my apartment was the place to be. Like when we weren't working, it was so fantastical and like out of this world. People just didn't want to leave. Like our friends would stay like 2, 3, 4 days at a time because of the things that would happen. You know, like we have like a whole bunch of girls tripping on ecstasy, making out with each other. You know, women stripping for cocaine. You know, like we're doing lines and we're talking about everything from pop culture to quantum mechanics to like social warfare, and you know it's just ridiculous. Sean starts selling. We have a whole bunch of and he goes into business with another good friend of mine, Chris. And so Chris, he takes like 50 pills, and Sean has like 50 pills, and Chris is supposed to sell them in his neighborhood. You know, 6, 7 days pass, and we don't hear from him. So we call him up, and we ask him, hey, how's the work moving? And he tells us he didn't sell any. He just ate a whole lot of I was like, holy shit. You know, it really took a hold of him. You know, he had to really like, you know, take a step back for a minute, and so he doesn't lose, you know, his grasp on reality. You know, he doesn't get too caught up. It got to the point where it started to really affect our lives. You know, like I had less money. You know, even though I was getting like, even though I was getting a wholesale, you know, I'm like sniffing like 2 grams of coke a night for like, you know, $70. You know, that's pretty cheap, you know, compared to like the $200 somebody would pay for the same thing. And like our rent started to, you know, we couldn't pay our rent on time. Our landlord was like, listen, like these guys are just animals. He remembered last summer like the things we were doing, so he evicted us. He was like, you guys can't stay here any longer, because he knew, I mean, when the summer came, it was going to be on and popping again. And I was kind of relieved when I found out we were evicted, because I was getting a little bit too heavy into the lifestyle. I ended up having to move back to my mom's house, sleep on her couch. And you know, I stood away from. It was my opportunity to escape all the drugs, you know, the cocaine, the ecstasy, the Molly, the Klonopins, the Xanax, the Percocets, the Adderall, you know, the acid, the mushrooms, the marijuana, the countless bottles of liquor and beer. And my friend Chris, a good friend of ours, he started smoking crack, you know. I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know how to deal with it. I've never had to deal with an addict before, you know. I didn't really consider myself an addict. I felt like I was just more a recreational user who did it when it was around, you know. But then Chris calls me one night, and he asked me to help him kill someone. You know, someone who's threatening to ruin his name in the hood by telling people that he smokes crack now. And I had just finished smoking weed, and I was like really high, and I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know how to talk him down. So all I can say was, "Nah, man, it's not worth it, man. Killing's not good." And I remember, like, you know, him being really upset that I didn't want to help him. And we hang up, and I just like laid there staring up at my ceiling, wondering like if he was gonna kill that man or not, you know. I separated myself from that for a long time, and I'm glad I survived, you know, because I've seen what it can do.